Episode 1: A Life Worth Living. You were never meant to control life. Nobody can design a perfect life for you, but you can learn how to meet life as it is. Most of us were never taught that. We were taught how to plan, how to prepare, how to fix, how to optimize, how to make sure nothing goes wrong. And when something does go wrong, we assume we failed. But what if the problem was never you? What if the problem was the idea that life was supposed to behave? Somewhere along the way, we learned that control equals safety. If I control my choices, my schedule, my relationships, my future, then I'll be okay. And when life doesn't follow the plan, when people change, when bodies fail, when circumstances shift, we tighten. We grip harder because letting go feels like danger. But control was never the same thing as peace. It was just a way to manage fear. Look closely and you'll see it everywhere. The constant planning, the constant worrying, the constant need to know what's coming next. Not because we're weak, but because uncertainty activates the nervous system. The human body doesn't like the unknown. So the mind steps in and says, I'll take over. And slowly, without realizing it, we start fighting life instead of living it. But here's the quiet truth. Life has never been fully controllable. Not for your ancestors, not for you, not for anyone. There has always been loss, change, illness, weather, chance timing. The difference is, earlier humans didn't confuse control with meaning. They didn't believe life had to be smooth to be worth living. They believed life had to be met. A storm wasn't a failure. A drought wasn't personal. A hard season wasn't a sign of weakness. It was part of the rhythm. Something to move through, not something to conquer. Somewhere in modern life, we forgot that. We started treating difficulty like a mistake. And so we try to control other people's behavior, other people's opinions, outcomes that were never ours to decide. We try to control how we're perceived, how we're received, how we're remembered. And when we can't, we suffer twice. Once from the event itself, and again from the resistance to it. This is where many people get stuck. They think letting go means giving up. It doesn't. Letting go means releasing the fight with reality. It means recognizing the difference between what you can influence and what you were never meant to carry. You were never meant to control life. You were meant to participate in it, to respond, to adapt, to feel, to choose how you meet each moment. That's where your power actually lives. Not in controlling events, but in how you relate to them. Here's something most people were never told. You don't control life. You don't control other people. You don't control circumstances. But you do have agency over your inner world, your interpretation, your emotional boundaries, your responses. And that matters more than we realize. Think about how often we give our emotional power away. A comment ruins the day. A stranger's tone shifts our mood. A family member's behavior lives rent-free in the mind. We say things like, they made me feel this way. They ruined my peace. They caused my reaction. But slowly, quietly, that belief teaches us helplessness. Because if everyone else controls how we feel, then we never really arrive in our own life. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about remembering where the key actually is. Not in controlling others, not in perfecting circumstances, not in designing a flawless future, but in how you choose to meet what's already here. A life worth living is not a life without pain. It's a life where you don't abandon yourself because of pain. It's a life where difficulty doesn't mean meaninglessness, where struggle doesn't cancel worth, where joy is allowed to exist alongside grief, not only after it. If everything were perfect, what would we grow into? If nothing ever challenged us, what would we learn to value? If life never broke our expectations, how would we learn humility, compassion, depth? The things we cherish most are often born in the spaces we didn't choose. This doesn't mean suffering is good. It means suffering is informative. It shows us what matters, where we're attached, where we're resisting. And sometimes what hurts is not what's happening, but the story we're telling ourselves about what should be happening. There is a difference between acceptance and resignation. Acceptance says, this is here, I will meet it. Resignation says, this is hopeless, I am done. They are not the same. Acceptance creates movement. Resignation collapses it. When you stop fighting reality, something softens. Not immediately, not dramatically, but subtly. The breath drops lower. The body eases, the moment becomes workable. And suddenly, life feels less like an enemy and more like a landscape you're walking through. A life worth living isn't built by force. It's built by presence, by noticing small moments, by allowing rest, by choosing not to harden when life gets rough. by remembering that you are allowed to enjoy life even while it's imperfect. Especially then, you don't need to control life to live well. You need to stay with yourself inside it. And that's something no circumstance can take from you. This is not a call to change everything. It's a reminder to stop abandoning yourself while waiting for life to improve. Because life doesn't become worth living when it behaves. It becomes worth living when you meet it, fully, honestly, and with yourself intact. A Life Worth Living, Part 2. Where your real power actually lives. Most people are exhausted, not because life is hard, but because they're trying to control things that were never theirs to control. We were quietly taught that if we plan well enough, try hard enough, think positively enough, we can engineer a smooth life. And when life doesn't cooperate, we assume something has gone wrong. But nothing has gone wrong. Life isn't broken. The story we were told about how life works is, from a young age, we're trained to believe power means dominance. Control your emotions. Control your future. Control how others see you. Control outcomes. So when something unexpected happens, a loss, a health issue, a relationship ending, a sudden change, the nervous system panics. Because the mind says, this wasn't in the plan. What most people don't realize is that this moment, the one that doesn't fit the plan, is where real power begins. Because power does not live in controlling life. Power lives in how you meet life. The illusion of control, let's be honest about something most people won't say out loud. Control is comforting, not because it works, but because it gives the illusion of safety. If I can predict what happens, I can relax. If I can manage people, I won't get hurt. If I can stay ahead of life, I'll be okay. But life doesn't work like that. Life is not a spreadsheet. It's not a to-do list. It's not a reward system where doing everything right guarantees peace. And when control inevitably fails, people turn that frustration inward. They say, I should be handling this better. Other people cope. Why can't I? I must be weak. But weakness isn't the problem. The problem is being asked to control something that was never controllable. What you actually have control over. Here's the part that changes everything. Once you see it clearly, you do not control other people, the past, the timing of life, sudden change, loss, aging, uncertainty. You do control how you respond internally, where you place your attention, whether you abandon yourself under pressure, whether you listen to your body, whether you tell yourself the truth. This is not motivational language. This is biological. Your nervous system doesn't care about your goals. It cares about safety, and safety isn't created by control. It's created by self-trust. When something difficult happens, the body asks one question: are you here with me, or am I on my own? Most people don't realize how often they leave themselves. They override exhaustion, they silence grief. They shame fear, they rush healing. Not because they're cruel, but because they were taught that slowing down means falling behind. Why we suffer more than we need to pain is unavoidable. Suffering is not. Suffering happens when pain is paired with resistance. Resistance looks like, this shouldn't be happening. I can't feel this. I need this to stop. I can't handle this. And the body hears those thoughts as danger signals. Heart rate increases, muscles tighten, breathing becomes shallow, the nervous system goes into protection mode. This is why people feel stuck. Not because the situation is impossible, but because the body is bracing against reality. Acceptance isn't giving up. Acceptance is saying, this is happening, and I am still here. The moment resistance softens, energy returns. Not happiness, not answers. Energy. And energy is what allows movement. Emotional sovereignty. Most people believe emotions happen to them. In reality, emotions move through us, unless we block them. Emotional sovereignty means you allow feelings to exist without letting them drive the car. You don't suppress sadness. You don't obey fear. You don't become your anger. You observe them. You feel them. You let them complete their cycle. Emotions are physiological events. They are meant to rise, peak, and fall. When we interfere by analyzing, judging, or resisting, they get stuck. This is why some people feel like they've been stuck in the same emotional state for years. Not because they're broken, but because the emotion was never allowed to finish. Ancient wisdom versus modern pressure. Ancient cultures understood something we've forgotten. They didn't measure life by productivity. They measured it by alignment, with seasons with the body, with cycles of rest and action. Winter wasn't failure. Grief wasn't pathology. Rest wasn't laziness. Modern life treats every pause as a problem. But nature never rushes, and nothing is missing. When you stop fighting your own rhythm, something profound happens. You stop seeing life as something to conquer and start experiencing it as something to participate in. The quiet power of letting go. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop gripping life so tightly that you can't feel it anymore. You stop trying to force clarity. You stop demanding certainty. You stop asking life to guarantee safety. And in that space, something surprising appears. Relief. Not because life got easier, but because you stopped adding unnecessary weight to it. You realize, I don't need to control this moment to survive it. And that knowing is power. Coming back to yourself. A life worth living is not built by perfection. It's built by presence. By choosing again and again to stay connected to yourself, even when life is messy, unclear, or painful. You don't need a better personality. You don't need a different life. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to stop leaving yourself behind. Because the moment you stay, truly stay, life becomes something you can meet. And that is where your real power has always lived. A life worth living. Part 3. What actually makes a life worth living? A life worth living was never meant to be a perfect one. Yet many of us spend years quietly chasing that idea. Not because we're shallow, not because we're foolish, but because we were taught, subtly, repeatedly, that life should eventually become stable, comfortable, predictable. That if we do the right things in the right order, life will finally feel complete. And when it doesn't, we assume something is wrong with us. From an early age, we're shown images of what a good life looks like. Milestones, achievements, security, happiness. And while none of those things are bad, something important gets lost along the way. We start measuring life instead of living it. We compare our insides to other people's outsides. We judge our progress against timelines that were never designed for us. We quietly ask ourselves, why doesn't my life feel how I thought it would? That question alone carries so much unspoken pain. Here's something rarely said out loud. A perfect life would actually leave very little room for growth. If nothing ever challenged us, we wouldn't develop depth. If nothing ever went wrong, we wouldn't learn resilience. If everything always worked out smoothly, we wouldn't learn compassion for ourselves or for others. This doesn't mean suffering is good. It means difficulty is formative. And a life worth living isn't one without hardship. It's one where hardship doesn't erase meaning. When people look back on their lives, they rarely talk about the years everything was easy. They talk about the moments that changed them, the relationships that shaped them, the experiences that forced them to slow down and listen. Often, the moments that felt like interruptions at the time become the moments that mattered most. Not because they were pleasant, but because they were real. Modern culture tells us happiness is the goal. But happiness is a state, not a foundation. It comes and goes. If happiness becomes the measure of a life worth living, then every difficult season feels like failure. But meaning works differently. Meaning can exist alongside grief, alongside uncertainty, alongside pain. And meaning, not happiness, is what gives life weight. This is why so many people feel lost even when their lives look fine. They did everything they were told to do. They followed the rules. They met the expectations. And yet something feels missing. Not because they failed, but because no one taught them how to relate to life internally. They were taught how to achieve, not how to be. Ancient cultures understood this distinction intuitively. They didn't separate life into successful and unsuccessful. They understood seasons, times of growth, times of loss, times of waiting, times of action. Winter wasn't seen as a problem. It was necessary. Rest wasn't laziness. It was wisdom. Grief wasn't something to rush through. It was something to honor. Nothing was wasted. Modern life, by contrast, teaches us to outrun discomfort, to distract, to numb, to optimize ourselves out of feeling. But a life worth living isn't faster. It's deeper. It's one where you allow experiences to shape you without hardening against them, where you learn from pain without becoming bitter, where you feel joy without clinging to it, where you accept impermanence without collapsing into fear. Many people ask, quietly or aloud, what is the point of all this? The point isn't constant happiness. The point isn't control. The point isn't perfection. The point is relationship. Relationship with yourself, with others, with life as it unfolds. A life worth living is one where you stay in relationship, even when things are uncertain. Especially then, think about the moments that feel meaningful. They're rarely grand. They're often small, ordinary, fleeting. A conversation that made you feel understood. A moment of peace after a long struggle. A quiet realization that you survived something you once thought you wouldn't. These moments don't come from perfect circumstances. They come from presence. Presence doesn't mean positivity. It means honesty. It means letting yourself feel what is actually happening instead of what you think should be happening. It means staying with yourself when things are uncomfortable instead of abandoning yourself in the hope of a better future. A life worth living isn't built by force. It's built by attention, by noticing when you're rushing, by noticing when you're resisting, by noticing when you're living on autopilot, and gently, without judgment, choosing to return. Again and again. This is not about lowering standards. It's about changing orientation from how do I make life behave to how do I live well inside what's here. That shift alone changes everything. You don't need a different life to live meaningfully. You don't need certainty to move forward. You don't need to have everything figured out. Across these 3 episodes, we've explored something much quieter than a perfect life. We've looked at how life is actually lived. We looked at the idea of happiness, how easily it becomes a performance, a checklist, a comparison. We looked at power, how it's often mistaken for control when it really lives in presence. And now, here at the end, we arrive at meaning, not as something you earn, but something you inhabit. A life worth living isn't something waiting for you in the future. It isn't unlocked once everything makes sense. It isn't granted when you finally get it right. It's something you participate in, right here, inside the life you already have. You show up as you are. You listen instead of rush. You stay connected to yourself, to your values, to what feels true in your body. Not perfectly, not all the time, just honestly. And maybe that's the quiet invitation underneath this whole series. To stop trying to fix your life and start relating to it. To stop measuring yourself against an imagined version of how things should be and begin meeting yourself where you actually are. Because nobody can design a perfect life for you, but you can learn how to meet life as it is. And when you do, with honesty, presence, and self-trust, life doesn't suddenly become easy, but it does become yours, and that in itself is a life worth living. Let me know in the comments how you think what a peaceful life looks like. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the algorithm push this video out to people who need it. As always, this has been Valkyrie. Thanks for stopping by. Until next time, be kind to yourself and others.